When The Sopranos reached its final episode, the world expected something huge, and the show didn't disappoint. But instead of going out with a traditional bang, it ended with a shocking moment that fans are still arguing about today. The screen cut to black just as Tony Soprano sat in a diner with his family, and right before the screen went dark, the camera kept focusing on a suspicious man in a members-only jacket. That split second of mystery gave birth to years of fan theories. People still debate. Who was the man in the jacket? Was he a hitman? Did he kill Tony? Or was it all a trick by the creators to mess with our heads? Let's break it all down and understand what that guy really meant, and why he might be the most important character who never said a word. The final scene in The Sopranos is probably one of the most talked about endings in TV history. For years, fans have gone back and forth trying to decode what actually happened. Did Tony die? Did he live? Why did the screen just suddenly turn black without any explanation? One key piece of that puzzle is the man in the diner wearing a members-only jacket. The camera shows Tony eyeing this guy with suspicion while he sits at the counter. Then just before the cut to black, the guy gets up and walks toward the bathroom. That's when everything goes dark, and the show ends forever. What's so haunting about this guy is that we never find out who he is. He has no name, no dialogue, and no backstory. But fans instantly recognize that the jacket he was wearing had been seen before, on Eugene Pontecorvo, a minor but significant character in the show. This small detail opened up a floodgate of theories and speculation that continues to this day. So where did this jacket first appear? The answer is pretty symbolic. The members-only jacket first showed up in the very first episode of Season 6, which is literally titled Members Only. In that episode we see Eugene Pontecorvo, a member of Tony's crime family, wearing the same kind of jacket. Eugene had been secretly working as an informant for the FBI. He wanted out of the mob life to move to Florida with his family, but both Tony and the feds said no. Trapped, Eugene ends up killing himself. Eugene's story was tragic, and also symbolic of how hard it was to leave the mob. So when the final scene shows another man wearing the same style of jacket, fans couldn't ignore the connection. It was too specific to be a coincidence. And while the character in the finale isn't Eugene, since Eugene had already died, many believe there's a deeper link between them. The man in the diner is played by Paolo Colandrea, a real-life pizza shop owner from Pennsylvania who had never acted before. The casting director hand-picked him for the role because of his look and presence. Paolo's character says nothing, yet his quiet stares and movements suggest a heavy presence. It was just enough to make us feel something was about to go wrong. The moment that sealed his importance was when he stood up and walked toward the bathroom. Anyone familiar with classic gangster movies immediately recognized the reference. It was almost identical to the famous scene in The Godfather where Michael Corleone goes into a restaurant bathroom to retrieve a hidden gun and carry out a hit. That kind of visual callback isn't random. It was a deliberate nod meant to tell the audience, pay attention. Something big is about to happen. The other characters in the diner don't notice anything strange, but Tony does. He looks around, checks out the guy at the counter, and looks toward the door as his daughter Meadow tries to park outside. The tension builds with every passing second, and just when you expect something to happen, the screen goes black. No sound, no explosion, no resolution, just silence. Because we never see what happens, we're left to imagine it. Many fans believe that Tony was killed in that exact moment. The man in the members-only jacket went into the bathroom to retrieve a weapon, came out and shot Tony in the head, just like how it happened in The Godfather. It would also fit something Tony once said earlier in the season, when he explained that in the mob, you probably don't even hear it when it happens. If that's true, then the cut to black wasn't just dramatic. It was Tony's final moment of consciousness, symbolizing his death. But not everyone agrees with that theory. Some believe the man in the jacket wasn't there to kill Tony, but to symbolize something else entirely. Since Eugene was an FBI informant, some think the man in the jacket was there on behalf of the feds, keeping tabs on Tony or maybe preparing to arrest him. It's even possible, some say, that Tony had flipped and become an informant himself. After all, plenty of real-life mobsters like Vincent Palermo, who inspired Tony's character, eventually worked with the government. Maybe the jacket was a signal that Tony had crossed that line too. Others think the man represented something more emotional or symbolic. Maybe he wasn't an assassin or an FBI agent. Maybe he was just a reminder of Eugene and all the people Tony had hurt or failed. Maybe he was the ghost of the past, the constant reminder that violence and betrayal follow you forever in the mob. If not literal, then at least metaphorical. Then there's the theory that the guy simply represented Tony's growing paranoia. Throughout the final season, Tony gets more and more anxious, always looking over his shoulder, wondering who's going to betray or kill him. That's what life in the mafia does to a person. By the time we get to the final scene, Tony is surrounded by normal people, but he's still scanning the room, convinced that someone might come for him. The members-only guy might not have been a threat at all, but Tony's reaction shows how deeply he lives in fear. That fear might be the real message the show was trying to send. David Chase, the show's creator, has remained mostly quiet about what the ending really means. But in a few interviews, he's dropped hints that suggest the cut to black was, in fact, Tony's death. One of the biggest clues came from a 2021 interview where Chase accidentally referred to the scene as a death scene, before quickly correcting himself. That slip-up only added more fuel to the theory that Tony was killed in that moment. Even so, the genius of the Sopranos finale lies in how open-ended it is. The guy in the members-only jacket might have been a killer, an FBI agent, a symbol, or just a nobody. And that's kind of the point. In the world Tony lived in, death could come from anywhere, anytime. You never saw it coming. You never even heard it. It could happen in the middle of a family dinner, at your happiest moment. And the Sopranos didn't need to show it. It made you feel it. So, who was the guy in the members-only jacket? We may never know his name, his story, or even his real purpose. But he changed how we think about TV finales forever. With just a jacket and a look, he became one of the most mysterious and powerful characters in the history of television. And maybe that's the best tribute to The Sopranos. A show that was never about giving easy answers, but about making you feel the weight of every choice, every betrayal, and every moment of silence before the end.